Hello and welcome to the 8th video under OOPS. In this video, we'll be looking into abstraction. So basically, what is abstraction? It displays only essential information and hides the details. Data abstraction refers to providing only essential information about the data to the outside world and hiding the background details or the implementation. In C++, an abstraction is implemented by using a class, a template, or a function. Like let's say for example, when we are driving a car, we are only concerned about driving a car like for example stopping, starting, accelerating or brake, right? We are not we don't want to know what happens when you press the accelerator. The speed is actually increasing. That's what we actually care about. We don't want to know about the inner mechanism of the car. And that's where abstraction is used. There are two basic types of abstraction, that is data abstraction and control abstraction. Data abstraction, this type is only shows, in this type it only shows the required information about the data and hides the unnecessary information. In control abstraction, this type only shows the required information about the implementation and hides the unnecessary information. Now how do we implement abstraction? We can implement abstraction in C++ using classes. So the classes help us to group data, members and the member functions using available access specifiers. A class can decide which data member will be visible to the outside world and which will not be. Like we knew about private and public access specifiers, this is where they can be used. Now abstraction in header files. So one more type of abstraction in a C++ can be in header files. For example, the power parenthesis method represents in math.h header, right? Power is basically used for calculating the power. So we simply call the function power, which is present in the math.h header after declaring the header, and then we pass a number to the argument. We don't actually try to understand what's going inside the algorithm underlying during the function that is being calculated during the power of the number. Now let us look at an example. Like you can see here, we first let us start with a normal hashtag include iostream and using namespace std. These are normal header file. Then comes the class. So we basically define our class, right? So inside class we have a private access specifier and public access specifier. So here we decide that we don't want to show int a and b, right? Now what we do inside public, we set the values for the method, that is void set int x and int y. We have int x and int y. So now a is equal to x and b is equal to y. So here what we are doing is we are assigning the private class object into the public class object. So we are basically assigning the values right over here, and this is one method where how you can view the private values. The private class values can be viewed using this method after assigning them in the public values. So if we didn't add this part of the code, it wouldn't show the value of a and b because it's private. So now after adding this, we call out the function of the printing, that is cout a and cout b. So here we will be printing out a values and b's value. So now we close the class, and now we have the int block of our int main block of our code. Over here we basically declare the object, call the object set that we had set here, that is the void set. This is called over here, and then we have the object display, right? We had defined and display over here, void display. Now object.display, obj.display will be here. Set, we put values 10 and 20 over here, and then we have return 0 because we need the value. So this is how basically you can access the private values. Okay, so then the output would be a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20. Whereas if we did not put the part of the code where we were assigning a is equal to x and b is equal to y, we would not be able to see the a and b values, because we are not allowed to access the variable a and b directly. But we can call the function set, which is this method is called setter and getter method. So we call the function set to set the values of a and b, and the function display to display the value of a and b. Now what would be the advantages of a data abstraction? So it helps the user to avoid writing the low level codes. because we don't need to know how the accelerator is actually accelerating the car, right? We just need to know whether the car is speeding up or not. And then it avoids the code duplication and increase reusability. It can change the internal implementation of the class independently without affecting the user. It helps to increase security of an application or program as only the important details are provided to the user. And most importantly, it reduces the complexity as well as the redundancy of the code, therefore increasing the readability. So that is it for the abstraction. In the next video, we'll be looking about encapsulation.